Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 25th episode of the Cultist Simulator, the Priest DLC, starring Harold Davidson. So I think I said in the last episode I've been a little groggy while recording these, but I'm trying to get them done early. We finished our expeditions in the capital, so we're going to be moving on to expeditions in the shires, and I think I kind of want to do that immediately. We do have a little bit of cash in the bank. We may not be able to finish all of them, but I think I'm going to be able to do a decent enough job. Now, one of the challenges that I'm going to run into is the expiry of the raw profit and potentially the hint. But I have a bit of an idea about how I'm going to handle that. So that's going to be what we focus on for the start. I don't really need to review the rest of the position just because we know that we're going to be translating the books, and I've got a whole lot of upgrades to do to bring people in as disciples. So that's just going to be something that I take as the opportunities go by. But let's start by investigating Lockwood Fen. The reeking murk of the Fenlands is ripe with furtive life. Taciturn locals still watch the sacred places of the small and secret gods, the ones that answer prayers. So, toss a bit of extra money in there, and we will take the hint and the percussagant. Out into the mudlands, somewhere, we are certain, is a shrine bedecked with precious oddments. If the locals try to kill us, we are probably heading in the right direction. So this, of course, already has some suggestions in terms of what we're going to be going up against, but honestly, at this point, we're sort of, we're kind of at the mercy of what we have available to us. It's in fact one of the reasons why I have some degree of urgency in terms of upgrading people to disciples, but we'll worry about that as time goes by. Now, we are improvising a sermon. The next thing I'm going to do is use the work slot to be able to summon the raw prophet again. If I can't successfully summon the raw prophet, I will probably need to grab influences from the Mansis or use, other means. But let's work with what we've got so far. More importantly, I want to see what happens when the sermon's done. It's possible that we'll change a decision based on what happens there. Alright, time the sundial's shadow passes, I must have funds to live, or I will become ill, so I need to be careful about dread. Our souls dwell each in the house which is our flesh, our senses are the windows, and each sense has its attendant appetites. To leave the appetites unsatisfied is to leave the windows uncared for, and who would choose to live in a house with filthy windows? So we've got a fervor. Now I do have a little bit of time before I need to use this, but because we do have a season of despair coming up, it's good to keep an eye on timers, so 180 seconds, certainly more than enough time unless we do generate despair, at which point the length of the season of despair is indefinite. My congregations run strong, if not deep. So, as promised, we're going to do summoning for the raw prophet. Now, my ideal is actually to try and do something like a sunset rite or rite of the map's edge when doing these resummonings, because effectively what happens is you get to keep both summons. The drawback here would be that if I fail in this summon, then I need to properly, resummon a raw prophet, and I may not have the means to do so. But the game's kind of forced my hand. I only have 2 Mystique, 2 Notoriety on the table, 37 seconds, so in practice, it's going to be a 1 in 3 chance that the Notoriety gets picked up. But if I try painting, I'll lose the raw prophet, and if I do the summon, it's very likely that I'm going to need the evidence. So the worst case scenario will be that the raw prophet tries to escape, so I spend 2 minutes trying to summon something, I lose everything, and then I need to kind of summon my escape again. But that's the pessimistic case. We'll see whether or not it turns out that way. So let's bring in Invocation, the Igavine Rite, and that should be sufficient for bringing in the raw prophet. So unless I want to take out the trash in terms of bringing in anything extra, we should just conduct the ritual. Grail for the raw prophet's source, and a little moth for its chaos addiction. Once the summoning's done, I'll probably do something with the fervor, or if we haven't been hit by the season of suspicion, I may actually just try doing some painting to get the reputation up. But I'm kind of counting on the notoriety getting scooped up. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. So as long as we handle the treacherous ground, we'll be fine. Pits and quags and sudden tumbles. The earth here cannot be trusted. Pope Clifton, please do your thing. My scars are weapons. Through striving, I rise to victory. There is no defeat but annihilation. In the light of the bright edge, we know ourselves. I pledge myself to the service of the strongest. Now, I do apologize. I don't think I read Sylvia's text before, but as a disciple, Sylvia's favorite tactic is to smile and close her eye. It is remarkable how often her interlocutor will blurt out exactly what they are thinking. So, I believe we still need a disciple for Lantern, along with a Winter disciple. So let's bring Slee in because Pope Clifton's on the... Well, I mean, Pope Clifton doesn't have to be on the mission, but somebody does. So let's we'll work with what we've been given. Slee speaks earnestly of his theories to all who will listen, the stars as tiny wounds, and the sun as a hemorrhage of glory. His poetry is more eccentric than ever. And we've translated the text. I think I'll probably just read and translate and read in the same go. So, Michael Blockley, the eccentric iron magnate, was fond of quoting from this tantra. Blockley died in a factory fire. Dialogues with an entity called the Crucible Prince. The prince warns about the appetites of his mistress, the burning queen, and the peril of the naked desire she shares with the sun, but professes his loyalty nevertheless. Okay, let's try the Orchard of Lights this time. Well, at least we dodged the fascination. So pulsing airs, this will be helpful if we wind up with a season of sickness. A rising power, a reassuring energy. The hours have been called unmerciful, but they permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the Orchard of Lights, where each fruit glows like a sunset, where the roots of the trees are shaped for peaceful rest, where the mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of the fruit lingers, sharp and sweet as the passage of spring to summer. And we'll keep going through the White Door. We are limited. Again, my sneaking suspicion is that the desire to be able to get to the next level in the Mansis will come once I properly dedicate myself to a particular cult. Or to a particular principle, I suppose. But I do want to try this experiment where I'll see if I can get sort of the two sets of top level cultists. So, you know, every once in a while, I do try to keep conscious of what people would like to see. So some of these will be decisions like the runtime lengths and whatnot. But where I can, I do like to try and I sometimes try and do things for myself. So for instance, if I haven't played DLC for a while, I'll be a little more inclined to try that. Or in this particular case, because I've not actually done it, because I haven't tried to do a particular outcome, even if it sort of fails, the process of getting to it and seeing how it gets prevented can be interesting to me. So that's one of the reasons I want to try and do this. And in the end, we're not yet at the point where advancing through the Mansis has, or the lack of advancement has prevented us from getting what we want. So, you know, not only do I have all of the locations in the shires to explore still, but I'm going to have kind of a stack of Forgotten Chronicles to investigate, and of course I need to get the money for them as well. So I may change that decision if we wind up sort of running through all of the places we can explore, and I'm really struggling to try and get that last little bit of lore. But I have a feeling that we should be able to make something of our our existing materials. So the Watchman will clear our sight so that we can almost certainly pass without error. This would be the time that I would add the raw profit if I had it around, but we don't, so I don't need to. It enters the world one limb at a time, questing like a serpent, cawing like a crow, throbbing like a vein. It will cuddle close against my leg if I let it, and afterwards I will have to dispose of my shoes. So we'll have to give this a couple seconds, but I think in this case I do have a little bit of time left on the fervor, so I'm actually going to try a painting. You never know, this might be a living. So we won't paint the raw profit. I guess I'll just do the fleeting reminiscence here. This should have an impact. We'll add the raw profit to the expedition for now, but I'll probably take it out in 14 seconds. Safe across the treacherous ground. We're mud spattered and thorn scratched, but we've made it through. This might earn us some money, I'm not sure. Scars are weapons. Through striving I rise to victory. There is no defeat but annihilation. In the light of the bright edge we know ourselves. I pledge myself to the service of the strongest. Slee's headaches have become crippling, but his theories grow more practical by the day. His poetry is getting better, too. Alright, so other than Winter, I think we've got one disciple... No, an Edge. Okay. Well, Winter first, and then we'll take care of our Edge friends. So Violet. Violet likes to paint. She has a gift, although she's been very modest about it. She never puts human figures in her paintings. There are enough people in the world. A right which changes is necessarily a right which destroys, but a great change requires a destruction of savage extent. So this is the highest level of forge that we've gotten on our own, a Khalidate invocation. The names of the forge have all spoken these words. And we'll move on to translating the next Tantra, the Fire Circle Tantra. Lock the study door, the work begins. And the text for that, the one known extant copy of this in Western Europe was stolen from the British Library in 1892, when Harvey Hattington confessed to the crime and claimed to have eaten it with butter and garlic in a moment of ungovernable whimsy. Alright, another Forgotten Chronicle, happy to get that. Last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them, any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story I heard in my Karashim days. You're welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. I see the mistakes, but I can also see the end. So we don't have huge expectations for this painting, but I would at least like to get the funds back and hopefully a return. Exceptional work. So there's the small possibility that I'll get one more crack at painting, but it's better not to push my luck. Actually, we seem to have done rather well for ourselves, so... Which is good, because I was getting a little nervous about the overall financial situation. So we'll do another... well, I guess we'll do part this time around, but it is going to be an improvised sermon. The congregation is already in a state of excitement... Sorry. Let's take care of the Moldy Warp admonitions. So, congregation is already in a state of excitement. Any secret knowledge will almost certainly drive them to exaltation. And another season of despair coming up, so if I can avoid things that generate restlessness, like moth, I should take the opportunity. But the Watchers will almost certainly regret standing against us. Again, almost being the key word. Alright, so the evidence is on its way. Violet is always careful. And we'll bring Elridge in as a believer, and then we'll slowly work our way through the rest of the members. I would, of course, like to get the raw profit on the evidence case, but we can afford. I think we can afford at least one more upgrade. Eldridge has almost learned not to pick his teeth with his knife in conversation. He has not yet learned to leave his knife in his boot. Okay. 2 Forgotten Chronicles. Story of a city without a gate, of a queen who was not born, of a war which was not fought. Last night, I walked in the Orchard of Lights. I plucked the fruit, which is always ripe, and consumed it in 2 bites. The taste is not to be forgotten. As I licked the glowing juices from my fingers, I saw the message carved in the bark of the tree. When I awoke, I recorded the message, all that I could remember in my diary. Okay, same text for the Fire Circle Tantra, so we'll read that right now. Herein, the great hooded princes are shown beseeching the wood to rise and devour an invading Timrid army. The Dapple King and the Honey Tree and the Sea Twins all deny their request until they enlist the help of a burrowing secret keeper. So it's worth remembering I've got 4 texts to read before I run out, although we don't know what I'm going to be getting from the expedition. Alright, well, there's the restlessness. Alas, their fervor is spent. What have they made of this night? So if I want to do something with it, I can get a sort of an extra body to run around with, but honestly, I'll just wait to see if we can catch a little extra cash for our efforts. Now, it's tough to decide what I want to do with my work verb right now. Some commissions would be kind of nice, but I think I'm going to try and earn some extra money while I'm free. So let's talk. We're actually going to work with the... So again, the worry here is that we get a lot of old, unhappy, far-off things, and then we wind up in a situation where I need to do more paintings. But it is my highest level lore right now, which means higher chances of fervor. More importantly, it is something that works well with passion, so I get to shave the 10 seconds off. It's fair to say that because this is a reasonably high level lore, and because it's it lines up well with passion, my expectation, that each trip to the parish is actually going to be 2 trips. One that generates the fervor, and then the second one to deal with the fervor. Now that, that is an assumption on my part. There's no guarantee that I get it, but it's worked for us so far. So I'll speak to their souls, and if I speak with conviction, their souls may answer me. And the Watchers end. Their blood pumps bright, then dark. They should not have opposed us. We move on. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the Mansis. And a free turn. Sometimes my words, and those I have borrowed, move my congregation beyond mere concentration to exaltation. A half-glimpse wistfulness has touched me, and my congregation has donated generously, and they haven't limited those donations to the collection plate. So, got a bit lucky there. So I am going to paint away the restlessness when the time comes. I'll add the raw profit just to preserve its... I mean, we haven't really been making that much use of it, but the clock's been ticking. Alright, here we go. My scars are weapons. Through striving I rise to victory. There is no defeat but annihilation. In light of the bright edge, we know ourselves. I pledge myself to the service of the strongest. Eldridge is waiting patiently until it's time to knife someone again. I like this one. I like just for its brevity. Especially given the kind of the comment, or like the one before about sort of his mild progress, don't pick your teeth, but he hasn't quite mastered leaving it in the boot. I like the contrast between the 2 lines here. Anyways, we are going to have a chat with the Raw Prophet, because within 30 seconds we should have another what am I trying to say? We should have an evidence to get rid of. The glory demands truth. When we are clad in lies, then it shall burn them from us. The deeper the lore, the greater the chance of exaltation. So again, another restlessness. Now, this is actually a pretty good deal. It's not clear why. In fact, some of you may be looking at this and saying, oh dear, this seems to be a very reliable way of producing restlessness, which could turn into dread, and I agree. But there might be some other purposes for restlessness that aren't painting for us. So I will leave it there. But it's nice to know that... I mean, again, I've got sort of a sample of 2 for this, but this is actually rather encouraging to see. Armed with blackmail material from the burrowing secret keeper, the great hooded princes petition the powers of the wood for a second time and are successful. 1/4 of the timbered army is devoured by bees, 1/4 drowns themselves, and 1/4 disrobe themselves until nothing remains. So there's another Moldy Warp admonitions. If I'd like, I can bring that even higher. So Moth is very powerful for us right now. I should probably paint away the restlessness before I get into trouble. And we will now translate the Ceaseless Tantra. The avant-garde choreographer, Nicholas Kirill, supposedly incorporated this tantra into his menacing ballets. Lock the study door, the work begins. Rinyu's Shrine. Here on a flat rock... In last night's dream, I was in the lodge of the Sage Knight behind the white door. It is difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I lost my speech when I passed the white door. How is it that I can speak, she said to me. I didn't come here through the white door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you about something else. Okay. I don't really see a whole lot for me to do with my dream slot other than to go back through the white door, so that's what we'll do. And then I was going to read the text for the Shire, or, well, specifically Lockwood Fen, but here on a flat rock, inches above the marsh water, is a throne carved of yew wood, ripe with fungus, ornamented with tarnished copper. This is the shrine we seek. Okay, so another source of restlessness, potentially. This may not get me a lot of cash, but I did get some extra from the exaltation, so... I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. Nope. No, please don't murder the hunter. A half-glimpsed wistfulness has touched me, so I do want to be a little careful of my fervor and my restlessness. Our devotion has drawn comment. But there is the evidence that I want to get rid of. There we go. My scheme will most likely succeed. There is always a chance that something will go awry. So I've got 146 on the fervor, 1 minute on the restlessness, so I'll probably wind up doing another painting, but we'll see how it goes. Apple green paint marks the ritual circles on the rock. The remains of sacrifices Apple green paint marks ritual circles on the rock. The remains of sacrifices past squelch beneath our feet as we search the shrine. In a little hollow in the throne rests an oiled bundle of treasures. Okay, so there's the notoriety. We've got a percussagant and a hint. We've got the flayed tantra, so we can add that to the list. We have got the icon of St. Agnes. St. Agnes of Bohemia was renowned for her pious dedication to the mortification of the flesh. This icon makes for grisly viewing. Vital pigment, which we've got already, and winged doll. In an attic above a skeleton house, there was a window. Beside the window, there was a box. In the box, there was a bandage. In the bandage was a twist of clotted hair. In the hair was wound a doll, because the window had never been opened. Okay, I think we're just going to go straight to Keegland's Scratch. The percussagant and the hint are not getting any younger. and then we can add the raw profit shortly afterwards. And of course, we've got the money for it, so let's jump back in. Giggle and Scratch. Here the Romans dug for silver until they reached the unsanctioned space where the names hid things not fit for sunlight. Many others have come since then, even as the tunnels crumble. Some have never left. So this is again more about the preservation of my summons, but it works well in most cases anyway. We prepare for the descent. We bring rope, tools, light. We arm ourselves against anything down there that may yet move. All conviction, the world goes away. I think I am just going to do another painting, and this time we'll just use 2 mystique and 1 notoriety. So 3 reputation, 1 passion. We may, of course, also get more reputation from this painting. We got nothing from that. Well, we got a fascination from it. Makes me regret spending the money, but there you have it. So this will be a pure reputation painting then. I could have had a slightly more efficient distribution of the mystique, but in this case I'm just kind of running with what I've got. This should have an impact. I will pay for this one because I want to try and get a return on it. I await word, and we've prepared the text for study. This is, yeah, so the same text. The Ceaseless Tantra is devoted mostly to warnings about the lively creatures called percussagants, but concludes with a chant which can be used to summon them. It observes that percussagants can be taught any dance, but they prefer only one. I believe that dance is the Macarena. I also think I said that last series. My minion has not returned. They have failed, and their blundering may have drawn attention. Alright, so this gives me a new thing to do with my work slot, but I do want to make sure that the fervor is dealt with. So we're going to bring more people into the organization. So time for Neville to level up. Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He's sensitive to deeper matters. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. A rising power, a reassuring energy, pulsing airs. The hours have been called unmerciful, but they permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the orchard of lights, where each fruit grows like a sunset, where the roots of the trees are shaped for peaceful rest, where the mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of the fruit lingers, sharp and sweet as the passage of spring to summer. So we'll get rid of the fascination with the fleeting reminiscence. Let's use the one that's about to expire. Another restlessness coming up, so I think I knew that was coming, but I should keep an eye on it. I guess as long as my staleness is... Well, even if my staleness is kind of high, we can just use a bunch of notoriety. A good day. Exceptional work. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. As yet, I only have the needs and desires of any other mortal. The word stirs me. In me. Okay, so it's going to be a tight window, but I think I can make this work. So my recent work has accrued modest fame. Paintings reviewed well. So no shortage of mystique to work with. No staleness yet either, and we definitely got our money's worth. So I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do here is I do want to deal with this fervor before it gets too old. So I'm going to do the Moldy Warp admonitions again. Now, my suspicion here is that we're going to generate another restlessness, and that may actually create some trouble for me. But I do want to have the confirmation that that is exactly what happens. So in this case here, this should take 50 seconds. Which means that I have another, well, 3 now. It was supposed to be 5. I should have some extra time to be able to paint away the restlessness. Then if we generate another restlessness, we do another painting, and then we should be able to, if a fervor comes up, handle that, so on and so forth. It does mean that I'm going to take even longer to summon the raw prophet than I want, but I don't really want to have the negative influence running around, and clearly we've got a lot of mystique on the board, so even if a Season of Suspicion does come up, we'll have a bit of time to prepare. So the congregation is already in a state of excitement. Any secret knowledge will almost certainly drive them to exaltation. And actually, on that note, we are at the half hour, so I will leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As always, if you've been enjoying the series and you've not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. You will also be able to hit the little notification bell to let you know when new videos come online, but it will be Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I believe that will also account for the shift to daylight saving. And of course, if you would like to help these videos get discovered, or if you just want to reach out, I do like getting comments. I like seeing, especially some of the same names keep coming up. Although for myself, I know I don't do comments a lot myself, so please don't feel obligated to do those. But you can also help the videos get noticed with a like, or of course, if you didn't care for them, you can also leave a dislike as well. But I will see you all in the next one. Take care.